is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Gosar, for the opportunity, and members of the subcommittee for allowing me to wave on and join you here today. I appreciate that. And thank you to our witnesses for your time and testimony. It's been brought to my attention, Mr. French, that you attended ASU. So, Representative Grijalva and I won't hold that against you in this hearing, being from Tucson and a U of A grad.
Fair enough. Speak for yourself.
Okay, never mind. He talked me into it, so we'll probably give you a little bit of a hard time, but thank you, sir, for being here. I do want to give you a special thanks, Mr. French, for your service here in the Arizona's Coronado National Forest. Thank you for that. I represent Arizona's 6th Congressional District. Representative Grijalva and I share the city of Tucson, which in my district sits along the southwest border and contains a significant amount of federal land. Around 39% of the state's land is federally owned and operated. Of approximately 2,000 miles of the border, almost 40% is on federal lands. I hear constantly from my constituents back home about the impact of the Biden administration's failed border policies, and I'm very concerned about the impact that it's having on our local environment as well. I'll start with Mr. Reynolds here. Which sites are the National Park Service observing the most foot traffic by the illegal crossings through the national park system?
Yeah, thank you, Congressman. So of the 380-ish mile of boundary that I'm aware of the parks touch over time or over space, Oregon Pipe near you in Tucson and Coronado are our big foot traffic there, but Oregon Pipe probably has the highest.
And how's the National Park Service working with law enforcement to shut down these pathways and mitigate the damage being done on the National Park System lands?
We watch carefully with particularly our Border Patrol colleagues in those parks that we just mentioned. A little bit of Forest Service and BLM is down in there as well. And we just have try as best we can to have a seamless approach. If there's concerns at all that you've heard, we'll be happy to follow up on it.
Yeah, I would love that. Can you also touch a little bit on the costs associated with remediating National Park Service lands along the southern border that have been utilized by these crossings as they enter our nation?
We carefully document the costs. There are special project monies for this, and I'll be happy to follow up tomorrow with you on the budget numbers.
We'd like to get that information as well, so thank you. Mr. French, how many pounds of trash would you say have been picked up in the National Forest System lands located along the southern border this year?
Along the southern border, I'm not entirely sure. I know we've apprehended or worked with the Border Patrol and apprehended about 40,000 individuals, but I don't have estimates on the amount of trash.
Are you able to at least compare to previous years to this year? Is that on the rise? Is it the same? Where are we on that? I mean, the crossing numbers speak for themselves. It's tenfold of what it used to be on a daily basis on the worst day before of what it is now. So can you give me the guesstimate on that?
I would say that in my experience in the past 25 years, we have seen ebbs and flows of border crossings across multiple administrations depending on what's happening. And I don't have the data right now to say whether or not this year is higher than previous years.
Well, the data is there from Border Patrol. The data is there from our border agencies of the numbers. I mean, in the last year and a half, 2 years, we've seen about over 6 million crossings and encounters. So the data is there. And I'm wondering how this is, I want to get to the bottom of how this is impacting our natural resources, how this is impacting our natural forest land on the federal side. And I understand you may not have specific data. I know Mr. Reynolds is going to follow up with me on some of these questions on your side as well, which I'm looking forward to receiving. But I'm hoping that at least anecdotally you can give me some evidence of what you've been able to see.
I mean, we've asked. And we didn't have any specific data on the amount of trash that has occurred that's different this year than previous years. Again, there were about 40,000 individuals apprehended on National Forest System lands this year. That's the best data that I can give to you. What I can tell you is that this has been a continuous problem for decades of us removing trash and other natural resource and visitor effects that occur on our international border along the Coronado.
I want to squeeze in one more question. I don't want to go over time because I want to be invited back by Mr. Gosar and the committee. So on the National Forest System, it's home for many threatened and endangered species. Can you describe the impacts of what's happening right now at the border on them and their critical habitat? as the last question.
The Coronado has the highest number of endangered species of any national forest across the country. There are some species that travel in between Mexico and the United States that are impacted at times, as well as water sources that are dependent for certain endangered species that are impacted in these crossings as well.
Thank you, sir, and bear down.